Dr. Suchitra Dalvi, who is gynecologist and also a coordinator at Asia Safe Abortion Partnership. Recently, our government passed a law which is Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Basically, it was an amendment to the present law. So we will be speaking in detail about abortion and all the technicalities of it and why it's so. Suchitra ma'am, welcome on Kartavya Sadhana. We are glad to have
Thank
you
you.
here. So starting our conversation, I would like to ask you a little bit about your work in the field of women's right to safe abortion.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to your forum, and thank you for this question. So as you said, I am a gynecologist, so I have been a practitioner and providing safe abortions. But I have also been working in the development field. I was medical director with the Family Planning Association of India for about 7 years. And for the last 14 years, I've been working with the Asia Safe Abortion Partnership. And I have also been involved in a lot of work around safe abortion rights advocacy, as well as work around the whole sex determination issue that has caused a lot of impact on safe abortion access. I have been involved in capacity building, so training programs, workshops, and have also written many articles on the issue.
So as you say that you have been working on advocacy regarding the abortion. So when you are working on the field, what you see that there is there in the advocacy, but it is not applied on the field?
I think in the issue of safe abortion rights advocacy, the issue is that, as you said, we already have an act, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, which was passed in 1971. However, that act is not a rights-based act. It basically gives all the authority to the doctor or the healthcare provider to decide. So in terms of the conversation on rights and the advocacy that we have to do around it, even doctors or lawyers, policymakers, many of the people who are responsible for the implementation of the law also don't see it as a rights-based conversation. And that's why the advocacy that we are doing is all about women's right to decide what to do with their own bodies, women's right to control what they do with their own bodies. And if that includes the right to terminating an unwanted pregnancy, then that should also be facilitated.
Like when we talk about abortion, the people has this basic idea that, if we abort now, it will be a very hazardous in future times when, when we want to conceive, especially ladies. They have this notion in their mind. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I know that there is a lot of anxiety in regards to this issue, but the reality is that a safe abortion is one of the safest procedures you can undergo. Particularly if you do medical abortion using medical abortion pills, that is, there is absolutely no invasive technology that is used. It is no more dangerous than maybe having your wisdom tooth removed or, any other minor surgery. The problem is if you have an unsafe abortion, then that can cause a problem with future fertility because it has not been done correctly. So if it is done safely with a properly trained and qualified gynecologist, then there is absolutely no reason that your fertility will get affected in the future.
You said about medical abortion. So what it means, like what is the procedure, or we can say the difference between different procedures of abortion?
Yeah. So abortion can be done, using a particular some equipment in an operation theater, or it can be done using a medical abortion pill. So the medical abortion pills have been available in India since the year 2002. And in fact, they are used globally by, millions of women for the last 2 decades, over 20 years. In fact, there are many countries like the Scandinavian countries in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, where women prefer to use the medical abortion pills. And in fact, they hardly have any surgical abortions anymore. So those are basically the two main methods that are available. As per the law in India, medical abortion pills are allowed to be used only up to 7 weeks, but they are available by the Drug Controller of India for up to 9 weeks. However, the World Health Organization guidelines allow it to be used for much later, and that is what we see in many of the other countries. So it really depends on how early you reach your doctor in India. although the pills are safe to be used even much later.
Coming to our law, that is MTP. So what are the changes or what amendments are made now, like in MTP 2021?
Right. So as per the original MTP Act, abortions were allowed up to 20 weeks. Now what the amendment has done is that it allows abortions up to 24 weeks for certain categories of women who have been identified as particularly vulnerable. And there is a list of, who is identified as vulnerable, which has been approved in the rules and regulations. However, they have also said that there is no gestation limit if the fetus has been diagnosed with some disability. So those are the changes that have been made in terms of gestational limit. One of the other important changes that has been made, amendments has been made, is that the original act said abortion is allowed if a married woman and her husband were using some method of contraception which failed. So they have now removed the word married and husband. So now it is basically any woman and her partner, if they are using any method to prevent a pregnancy, but she gets pregnant, then she is to be allowed to have a termination of pregnancy. So in that sense, there have been some slight, improvements over the original act.
So, when we say improvement, has it been progressive than the old law?
So I think, as I said, a small improvement, little bit progressive. So earlier, 2 doctors were required to approve of an abortion between 12 to 20 weeks. Now it's only 1 doctor, because as we know in our country, getting even 1 gynecologist is often very difficult, particularly given that most of our population lives in rural and semi-rural areas. So changing from married woman to, just woman, so not using her marital status to define her rights. So in that sense, it is progressive. However, it still has all the power and authorities vested in the doctor. It is not the woman's choice or right in that sense. So in that sense, it is not progressive. The other thing is, although the gestation limit has been removed altogether for termination of pregnancy if the fetus has been diagnosed with any disabilities, that is also a little problematic because it doesn't sit well with the disability rights movement. The idea is that we need to create a society where people with disabilities can also coexist and have the same kind of choices and opportunities, and not just, make sure we terminate the pregnancies. So there are some problematic issues in it, but overall, I think the amendments are a little progressive, yes.
Like, as you said, that at least 1 doctor is required to, if the gestation limit is crossed, required to decision on whether it should be aborted or not. So can we still say that it is still in the hands of other person and not the autonomy of woman's body itself? Can we say that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, we can. And that's how it has always been. There's nothing new about it. The original act, MTP 1971, also says it is the doctor's decision to say whether the woman can have an abortion or not. And the reason behind it is that the Indian Penal Code of 1860, which was actually made by the British, it was the British Penal Code, says that having a miscarriage or causing a miscarriage is a criminal act. So the MTP Act was created to protect the doctor from the criminal act in the Indian Penal Code. So as long as the Indian Penal Code still exists, the clause 312 to 316, it is difficult to have abortion as a right in the country because it is already in the criminal code saying it's not, it's a crime. So if we make any changes in the law, we have to change it in the Indian Penal Code first, in the IPC.
Now, thing is, like there has been quite a 2 type of feminist groups who has been discussing that, it is a good act. And the weeks have been the gestation limit has been increased, but and few are like that, no, we need a complete autonomy over it. My question here is that few women feel it is all right, and why to wait for more weeks, right? So here the question is, what are the reasons for late abortion? I mean, why women feel that it can be done within the weeks and there is no need of, unlimited, what we can say is the current, more than the current gestation limit.
Right. So yeah, it's an important question because there are a lot of people who feel very strongly about extending the gestation limit. The problem is we need to understand the situation of the women and the girls in our country. We are a country which has a very strong patriarchal framework for our society. Girls have a secondary status. They are not wanted. They are often not treated well. They are seen as what we call paraya dhan. So they are raised only to be married off to someone else. Despite dowry being a crime, dowry is still asked for as well as given. So in the context of this entire situation, girls who don't have full access to their education, those who don't have sexuality education in schools, they don't have any, employment guarantees, and they are married off in arranged marriages with very little power in that relationship. They often don't know about contraception. The use or non-use of contraception is usually decided by the husband or even the in-laws, depending on whether they want to have, grandchildren, etc. So in this entire situation, where women don't have access to their own money, for example, they don't have access to information, they often don't have the freedom to just get up and go where they want. Once a woman realizes she's pregnant and takes a decision that she doesn't want to continue, it could still take her 3 to 4 months to reach a doctor, right? Because she may need to save money. Suppose she has to take a bus and go to the next village because she doesn't want to go to her own place since somebody might see her over there. She needs the time to negotiate freedom to go there by bus. So she needs maybe sister-in-law, friend, somebody to accompany her because she's not allowed to go alone. If she has other small children already at home, she needs to find a way to have someone look after them before she can go to the clinic. If there is any situation where there's intimate partner violence, domestic violence, the in-laws family is very controlling, she may never get the freedom to go, so she may try home remedies. By the time she realizes that it hasn't worked and she still needs the abortion, it is often easily 3 to 4 months of pregnancy by the time she comes, which is why it is important, as we say, that a woman must be able to get an abortion as soon as possible, but as late as necessary. So we do want them to be able to get it as soon as they can, but very often they don't get a pregnancy test easily available. They don't have control over their own lives enough that they can just go ahead and get an abortion. So we must recognize that delays happen for reasons which are outside the woman's control, and the system needs to provide for safe abortions no matter when she comes.
So now talking about safe abortion, what is unsafe abortion and how the safe abortion can be achieved?
So basically, the definition of safe abortion as per the World Health Organization is an abortion which is provided in an approved and a safe environment by a trained and skilled provider using the appropriate tools and technology. So anything that is not that is an unsafe abortion. So suppose you go to a person who's not qualified or trained, or somebody who is trained and qualified but does an operation or in a place which is not, clean and approved or certified. Or you go to the chemist and you buy some pills which they give you the wrong pills, for example. So all kinds of things can make an abortion unsafe. If you take the correct medical abortion pills, even if you get it, for example, without a doctor being involved, it may sometimes still be safe. So the thing is, illegal isn't always unsafe, is the most important thing to remember. And the question to ask ourselves is, if we've had the MTP Act in India since 1971, why do women still not have safe abortions? Because they very often don't know about it. When was the last time you saw an advertisement in a public place for a safe abortion clinic which was run by the government? There is no public information available. There is no conversation around abortion in the society. There is no way for someone who doesn't have access to the internet, for example, maybe, to get any of this information. So the conversation that happens around abortion in society is so stigmatizing and shaming that nobody wants to talk openly about it. So they try to do it in secret, they hide, they go to some, local quack, or they try and do it themselves. These are all the ways in which they end up with an unsafe abortion. So the solution really is to make sure they understand when to go, they know where to go, the information is openly available, they have easy access to the place in terms of, public sector hospitals where they don't have to spend too much money, or if they need to go to a private sector hospital, one which is a safe, qualified, trained doctor, or if they're going to take medical abortion pills from a chemist, that they're getting the correct pills in the right dosage, and they have information on how to use it. So if they have all this, or telemedicine, for example, now as a result of the pandemic, our government came out with telemedicine guidelines. but they didn't specifically mention safe abortion within that. So medical abortion pills in early pregnancy can very easily be taken using a telemedicine service, because the woman can take the pills herself at home and it's perfectly safe. So unless we go out of our way to provide safe abortions, the risk that someone will end up with an unsafe abortion will always exist.
There is a lack of access towards all of these abortion pills and other medical procedures available in the hospital healthcare sector. So my question is, urban women, like the women who are living in urban settings, aren't they can access these things easily? And when it comes to rural women, like who are living in rural settings, so here there can be some vagueness or ambiguity in knowing the information of abortion. So how you differentiate between both of these sectors?
I mean, I don't think one can generalize, because in urban areas also there are women who don't have access to information or freedom or money, because people who live in urban slums, for example, or even those who are middle class but belong to a conservative family may still not be able to get easy information. Even if you have access to the internet, you still need to be able to go out of your home and travel to a facility or at least go to the chemist. So I wouldn't necessarily divide it so much as urban rural. I think I would divide it as public sector responsibility, because it's the government's responsibility to make sure that people who need the service know that this service is legal and that it's available. So I think it's an issue of how much information is out there in the public domain, how much conversation is happening around safe abortion and safe abortion access. Because if you don't talk about it, the assumption most people make is somehow it is not legal. It may be criminal. It is something they need to hide and do. And that is why they will end up with unsafe abortions. In the villages, in fact, the ASHA, who is the village health worker, does have information about medical abortion pills as well as pregnancy tests. And maybe women in rural areas actually have more contact with someone like that than women in urban areas do. But the point is, despite all that, the access is an important part. Just having the information isn't enough unless someone is actually giving you the services in a place where you can reach and for the money that you can afford and in a way that it will maintain your confidentiality and safety.
This is one part of abortion, that when there is a disability or they don't want to have kids, right? What are the causes of unwanted pregnancy, especially the kind of era we are living in?
Unwanted pregnancies have had the same reasons throughout all the centuries, not just particularly in the era we are living in. And just to clarify to your listeners that the vast majority of abortions in India are done by married women. So because they want to limit the size of their family, or because contraception has failed, or the gap between the two children is very less, and many, many such reasons. So unwanted pregnancies happen for a large number of reasons. One could be that they were unaware of contraception and they realized that this is not a good time to have a pregnancy, and the person could be married or unmarried. Very often pregnancies can be caused by rape, because as you know, in India, marital rape, so rape by the husband, is not seen as a criminal rape. So if the husband forces himself on her and rapes the wife and does not use condoms or any method of contraception, that could cause a pregnancy which is unwanted. It could be that there are other limitations in her life. For example, the relationship may change. As we know, increasingly divorces happen. She may choose not to continue the pregnancy. There may be issues of her own health, which may be physical health or mental health issues, and she does not think this is the right time to be a parent. So there is a long list of reasons, including, of course, there are some people for whom, they find out that the fetus has a disability and they don't want to continue. I think rather than a list of reasons, I think the important perspective is for that particular woman or that particular girl, whatever reason she does not want to have that pregnancy is a valid reason. It doesn't matter if I don't agree with her reason. It is her life, her body, and her choice. So if she thinks, no, this is not wanted, that's it. There's no reason for me to ask, what are your reasons? Is it justified or not? This is not correct. I don't agree with you. I don't believe you. It's none of anybody else's problem. And unfortunately, unless it is actually a right, this kind of a situation will not arise. If she goes to a doctor, the doctor will always ask 4 or 5 questions. Why are you doing it? What happened? Why don't you continue? So this is the problem that women face. So I think unwanted pregnancy is just what it is. It's a very subjective experience. It's unwanted to her. Whatever her reasons are valid for her, they may not be valid for me. I may think, it's okay to have 2 children with a gap of like 1 year, but she doesn't want it. That's her choice. I mean, how can anybody else decide for her whether, why it is unwanted?
So, like lately, I have been, experiencing I might say I've been observing few of my people around me. They're happily married, yet happily pregnant, but something happens. Their partners get skeptic about their loyalty, and after a point, they even have a separation between them. So, my question is, what law has for them? Like they cannot abort it, and they have to live it like a single parent. So how law can do something for them?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, currently the law is not rights based. So the law has put some restrictions on a gestational limit as well as reasons. This situation can be avoided if abortion is seen as a right, and any woman who's pregnant and doesn't want to continue should be allowed to terminate. That's exactly what I was saying. It depends on why it's unwanted to her. But unfortunately, currently in our country, we don't have that kind of a legal situation.
I have seen women who goes on a guilt trip, especially the single unmarried women. They go on a guilt trip that, they have to abort a living life, a child, a fetus in them. So, somewhere it affects their mental trauma. So like what is your narrative on this?
So the thing is, to tell you honestly, a lot of this guilt and mental trauma is something that is created because of society, where we see women's ultimate role is to be the mother. So anyone who doesn't want to be a mother is already seen as a bad person. Secondly, this is the way patriarchy controls women, by making them feel that being a wife, being a virgin before getting married, being a good wife, and having as many children as the husband or the in-laws want, or somehow to punish the women who have sex before marriage, by making them feel guilty, by making them feel they've done something sinful or shameful, by making them feel that something terrible is going to happen in their life in the future. So we must recognize that a lot of the guilt and the shame and the negative conversations around abortion happen because of patriarchy. They have nothing to do with medical reasons. Because, if you are pregnant, you are pregnant. Now, whether you are single or married, marriage is something which artificially has been created by human beings. It has nothing to do with the biology of being pregnant. So the guilt and the shame is caused by our socio-cultural, conversations. Having said that, yes, there are some women who regret having an abortion, but very, very few women. Most women will be far more traumatized if they are forced to continue an unwanted pregnancy and look after that child for the rest of its life or their life when they didn't want to have the child. So abortion is most often seen as a solution. I have seen far more women feeling relieved and happy after an abortion than feeling bad and guilty. Because when the woman comes to have an abortion, she's already decided she doesn't want to continue it. So all that we have to do is support her with her decision. I feel many times doctors or other people in the family also tend to pass judgment and, make her feel guilty, which is very unfair and just not appropriate. But unfortunately, that's the kind of society we live in.
Sometimes, like single women, especially who are unmarried, they don't let their parents or their guardians know about it. So, they eventually choose a very secretive way of abortion.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Why should they have to do it secretly? The very fact that they have to do it secretly and they can't tell anybody is because they've been told that this is wrong and bad, and they will somehow be punished if people find out, which is why they are forced to do it secretly.
So we can say that abortion is yet taboo for women, despite their all the background and the way they are brought up.
I'm not so sure I would say that. I would say abortion is shown as taboo to women by society. Because if women are not controlled by the fear of an abortion, then how do you control women basically? How do you, because men have always had sex without fear of pregnancy. No one talks about man being a virgin or, man being faithful and man staying at home and never looking or being with another woman, etc. So a lot of the conversation around abortion happens because of the patriarchal context in which women are supposed to be only good wife and good mother. Once that conversation changes and women can behave in their sexual and reproductive life the way men do, then there'll be no way to control women, right? Which is why patriarchy holds on to this whole, abortion stigma so strongly. Because otherwise, then women will be the equal of men, and then that's it. That changes everything.
Okay. So I won't take much of your time. I'll end it with the last question. So with all of these taboo and patriarchal influence, I would like to ask you, like, what more we can do to, make reduce all these loopholes and make MTP Act more of a rights than just looking like a law.
Yeah, I think that, there are a lot of us who have been doing some advocacy, including with policymakers and, in legal spaces. Unfortunately, it's not very easy to change the law. I think what we can do is those of us who believe that a woman should have the right to control her body and decide what happens to her body, we need to have more conversations like the ones we're having, one we're having right now, is to speak up more, because it's the silence that creates, more of the shame and the stigma. More girls and women should be aware that the MTP Act exists, that abortions are legal, even if not as a right. It's a fairly long list of reasons why you can get an abortion, that medical abortion pills are available in India, and that gynecologists should support you in being able to have a safe abortion. So I think just having a conversation and putting the conversation in the context of women's rights. It is a medical service, but it is also a woman's right to decide what to do with her body. And moving the conversation away from the whole patriarchal norm of, anyone who doesn't want to be a mother must be a bad woman, and therefore create all this shame and stigma conversation. I think that's what we need to change.
So basically, we can say that, the mentality of society looking towards it needs to be changed. More of, bringing a change in a law, right?
Well, yes, because the change in the law, the work around it is going on. It's not that easy to change the law, not that it's easy to change society. But I think if one has more open conversations and women feel empowered to then eventually demand this as a right, then the law will eventually change. Because after all, lawyers, those who make the law, the policy makers, are our elected representatives. So if this is what people want, then eventually this is what, they will feel it's necessary to give.
So with this, I feel that we can end our conversation here. And I think it is
sure.
For our listeners, it will be a great insight about abortion, because more of people have lot many reservations when it comes to abortion. I think this might help them to understand one part of it, maybe.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to speak on the topic.
Thank you, ma'am, for being with us with Kartavya Sadhna.